After taking a week off, Mobile Suit Gundam The Witch from Mercury is back with episode number 11, titled The Witches from Earth. Before I do get into my thoughts on the penultimate episode of the first core, I want to hear what you thought of this episode, so head on down to the comment section below and let me know. While you're there, I'd really appreciate if you could leave a like on this video and subscribe if you're a fan of anime and Japanese gaming content. The employees of Gundam fly to Plant Quetta, delivering supplies and intending to pick up Ariel. Suletta feels like her presence isn't needed, so constantly takes on as many jobs and responsibilities as possible and tries to put everyone else before herself, leading to her missing out on lunch. Prospero meets with Delin, providing him with data that will be able to see a project called Quiet Zero through. Delin also meets with Vimjetic, who accuses him of stealing the Benrit group away from him. All alone, Suletta calls her mum and shares her insecurities with her, and mum tells her to come and see her and Ariel. Miorine interrupts, having overheard the whole conversation, and the two have their very first squabble, leading to Miorine letting out her feelings to Suletta. The Dawn of Fold begin their attack on Plant Quetta, leading to the first confrontation between a witch from Earth and the witch from Mercury. So I think after episode 10, it was painstakingly difficult for all of us to wait an entire extra week just to be able to watch the next episode, because the end of episode 10 set up what was going to be kind of the culmination of everything that we have seen so far, and ultimately a incredible finale to this first core. And this episode, episode number 11, sort of feels like an emotional conclusion, if you will, to the first core in terms of character relationships and stuff, especially with Suletta and Miorine. They kind of get their moment where they kind of confess feelings to one another in their own ways. There's no kind of I love you type moment or anything like that, but you know, you definitely feel like both characters have become a lot more vulnerable with each other, and that's all because of everything that's been building up over the course of the 11 episodes so far. But like I said, it does begin the attack on Plant Quetta. Everyone that, you know, we've seen so far, everyone that's been an important piece of this entire story, is kind of in this one place. It's almost like every major player coming together for an ultimate conclusion and an ultimate final battle, if you will. There's a hell of a lot of intriguing things that are also going on with Prospero. Every time she mentions her daughter, whether it's talking about Ariel or whether it's talking about Suletta, there's always just this feeling whenever she mentions the word daughter, it's almost like something falls over the room, something changes, like the whole mood and atmosphere does. And we see it with Belmeria as well. The look on her face when Prospero mentions her daughter, it feels like there is something more there. And if you have been watching my reviews of the episode, I have just heavily bought into this whole theory thing about Eric being Ariel and not Suletta. And that just, every single time daughters are mentioned concerning Prospero, that theory just is further proven. But now we also have this building relationship between Delin and Prospero, and the fact that they're working together on something, which is very interesting to see, because Prospero obviously holds a massive grudge with the whole thing that went on in the prologue, and essentially what Prospero's after, whilst it's not directly mentioned, it's very obvious that she's after some sort of revenge. And therefore she's just playing into the whole Benrit group thing to kind of get deep within it and eventually take her revenge in some way. Which is weird, because you kind of would assume that she would be at the front of this whole assassination attempt, but she doesn't seem to be involved in it anyway. It seems like maybe she will try and protect Delin for maybe some other reason. You know, maybe she does want to get like super deep in to eventually just break it all apart, and she sees maybe the assassination attempt as being a bit too early. It's probably what makes Prospero one of the most intriguing characters in the show, because you don't really know what she's after, you don't really know what she's thinking, you don't know who she's siding with, who she's lying to, who she's telling the truth to. You just cannot read this character at all. I love that Suletta and Miorine kind of get their like moment in this episode. It's just nice to see everything that's been building up, this relationship with them. I think they've done such a great job you know, kind of bringing these two characters together that are obviously very different personality-wise, and just, you know, making this relationship feel really nice and also tangible. And it just feels like a nice thing to exist within a Gundam series that inevitably, as Gundam usually does, is going to take some dark turns. Someone big is going to die, probably in the finale of the core, but I do hope that the relationship between Miorine and Suletta is kind of this shining light within all the darkness. And we're also getting some hints about Vim's grudge towards Delin as well, where he's kind of accusing him of stealing the Benrit group away from him and kind of being this like outside source, if you will, that kind of swooped in and took control of everything. And they've obviously not fleshed that out yet, and I assume they probably will continue to do it. I guess this is probably the reason why Vim wants him dead. One of the things I picked up on in this episode is the identities of the two mobile suits, which presumably are Gundams, that the witches from Earth are piloting. They're actually called Elfrith. It's Elfrith and then something else, but it seems like they are sort of variations, I guess, of Elfrith, which, for those who don't remember, was actually the Gundam that we saw in the prologue. So presumably there is some connection there. We don't know what actually happened to Elfrith. Like, the assumption is that Elfrith eventually became Ariel, but I don't think that will be the case. Maybe Elfrith somehow ended up on Earth in the hands of the Earthians, hence why we do have these two variations of that same name. But considering that we now have the witches from Earth and also a witch from Mercury, I do wonder whether in the second core we're going to get introduced to more. Presumably we will, because it's probably going to really focus in on lots of different Gundam pilots, and presumably we'll maybe get witches from Jupiter or witches from Mars or things like that. So I really hope that we do see that, because I don't want it to just be Suletta as a Gundam pilot and then these two other Gundam pilots. I want to see more people involved. I want to see more Gundams, because, well, they can sell toys that way. But also, it's just really cool to see newly designed robots. We can get more interesting duels between them and stuff. So I'm hoping in the second core we do get to see some more Gundams and thus Gundam pilots. Now, as we are moving into the finale, I do have some ideas about, or predictions really, hopes, that I think could well and truly happen. I think we could get some big deaths here. I think Delling's probably going to die. It's the obvious thing that's going to happen, but I think it is very likely. But I could also see someone like Vimjetta getting killed as well. Maybe Guel ends up seeing it, and it, kind of changes his character in some ways. But honestly, this is probably a wild out there prediction. I would not be 100%, I would not be completely shocked if Miorine ended up dying. And that's simply because of the scene that we get in this episode, where they make up feelings, all that kind of stuff comes out, and it just feels like that thing that happens sometimes where someone is going to end up dying, and you kind of have that scene beforehand that's really heartfelt and really drives home the relationship between the main character and this other person. I wouldn't be completely shocked if Miorine died. It would be wild and crazy for them to do something like that. It would be very unexpected, but I don't think it's out the realm of possibility. And it's also a reoccurring thing in Gundam for the love interest of the lead pilot, if you will, to die. So it's not out of the realm of possibility, let's just say that. If it does happen, it's going to be an emotional gut punch, especially because we've spent the past 11 episodes building up this relationship. It would be a shock if it happened, but at the same time, I think that's the reason why I do kind of expect it to happen. But overall, this was just another fantastic episode of this series. It feels like the emotional conclusion in terms of our two lead characters for this first core. And then, of course, when we're moving into the actual finale of the first core, that's going to be the big epic finale battle. People are going to die, lots of stuff's going to go down, and I cannot wait for it. Before I get out of here, though, I'd really appreciate if you could leave a like on this video and subscribe if you're a fan of anime and Japanese gaming content. If you want to see more Witch from Mercury coverage in the future, I am going to have a review for episode 12. They are taking another week-long break, which is an absolute pain in the ass, but the excitement, the hype we're all going to feel when we get to episode 12 is going to be awesome. Above all else, though, I want to hear your thoughts on this episode, so head on down to the comment section below and let me know. What did you think of Suletta and Miorine's moment in this episode? Who do you think had the best moments in this episode? What do you think this whole Quiet Zero project is? And are you expecting anyone to die in the finale? And if so, who do you think it's going to be? As always, thank you so much for tuning into mchat today, and I'll see you all in the next video.